so it is being recorded. I'm not going to get anyone else to speak, so you don't have to worry about that. Speaking of our website, I just wanted to alert you to where the Creative HR page is. So it's on the left-hand side of our website. And you should also check out our website to see what types of things we are doing at the Community Sector Council. On the right there, you see that we have other CSCNL events or training sessions. We have a financial management project ongoing right now, and there's some great sessions coming up. I believe there's one tomorrow, actually. So if you have some time, drop in there. I wanted to also let you know about an upcoming free in-person employment standards session at the Community Sector Council. This session is this Friday, May 26th, here at 25 Anderson Avenue at the Community Sector Council. We do plan on also doing a free webinar on this same topic in the very near future. We're actually just booking this this week, actually. It's pretty flexible and we should have a convenient time. Depending on need and demand, we could also repeat these sessions if required so that everyone gets the same information. We have a guest speaker, Stephanie Franklin. She's from the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador, and she will be providing this free session in our facility. So it's a great partnership that we have. I also wanted to ask that you please follow us on Facebook and tweet about us on Twitter. I do recognize a familiar attendee tonight who created this fabulous slide, Carla. So hi Carla, welcome to the session. She was one of our interns here at the Community Sector Council, and she did some excellent work about on social media and social media etiquette, how to use it in the workplace and in the nonprofit sector. Hope you don't mind me picking you out of the crowd there, Carla. Okay. Okay. So, what will we cover this evening in this webinar? We're going to look at the following. We're going to look at compensation and benefits, including how to define compensation, legal compliance, compensation and rewards programs, and direct and indirect benefits. We will also look at employee engagement and retention, including how HR responsibility relates to employee engagement. We will take a look at organizational environment, including the importance of communication in the workplace and how to achieve work-life balance. And we will briefly touch on social media in the workplace. We will look at, briefly, policy development and office etiquette. So to start, I just want to say that what we will go through tonight will be informative and not advisory in nature. What I mean by this is that the information contained in these slides was from research done from a nonprofit perspective, and it is intended to help all of you best suit your own organizational needs when dealing with human resources. We have developed a model here at the Community Sector Council for human resources topics. Basically, we have categorized all of the HR topics we see relevant into 4 categories. So they are staff recruitment and selection, employee performance management, employee retention, and employee departure. So I'll ask that Darlene Scott unmute herself there now to tell you a bit more about the Creative HR project.
Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for being with us this evening. At the Community Sector Council, Newfoundland and Labrador, we're based in St. John's, although we have an office in Gander and we operate around the province. We've known for a number of years now that nonprofit organizations are very focused on mission, and they hire people to work on their mission and their visions and their values. It's very tough if you're a small nonprofit organization to have any specialized human resource management expertise on site. And so we've been looking at, and we will try in this model to look at whether or not it's possible for an HR specialist based at the Community Sector Council to provide skills building and resources online and consultative services to small and medium-sized nonprofit organizations. So if you've got issues around HR, we want to hear about them because we are funded by the Labor Market Partnerships Program of the provincial government, the Department of Advanced Education, Skills and Labor, and we're trying to look at what the needs are in the sector. We know some of the needs, but we certainly don't have any kind of a quantification on many of them. So we're very interested over the next year or so in hearing from you expressly on what the HR issues are in the nonprofit sector. So Tina will put up her toll-free number at the end of the webinar, and please call us anytime. So back to you, Tina, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Darlene. You did a great job there, as always. She's my partner in crime here at the Community Sector Council, and it's great to be working here with the team. I just wanted to do my first poll ever, so I'm going to launch a poll there now to see whether you are staff or a volunteer with the nonprofit organization you're with. So I hope you can see it there on the screen. So it's telling me the poll is in progress. I would just ask that you select the option that suits you. All right, so we just have another 12% to vote. I just ask that everyone select the option that applies to you in the poll. It should be up on your screen. I'm just going to see there now. All right, so I'm just going to provide the results to you now to move on with the presentation. But it's saying that 86% of the individuals here tonight are staff and 14% are other. So some interesting stats there. I'm not sure why it still says there's 12% not to vote, but it might even have to do with me or Darlene, I'm not sure. 100% voted, actually. I stand corrected. So 88% are staff and 13% other. So interesting mix at the webinar here tonight. I'm going to close, I'm testing this now, so thank you so much. So you should see on the screen the results, 88% staff and 13% other. All right. So I believe I've closed the poll, and if you can't see the screen for some reason, please let me know. I'm going to continue on there now. So thank you, as Darlene mentioned, for attending this webinar this evening. You've all come here to learn a bit more about employee retention in the nonprofit sector. So the key to employee retention in the nonprofit sector is an engaged workplace. I wanted to obviously engage you tonight by getting you to write in the text box about what makes you engaged in the nonprofit workforce. What types of things keep you working where you are? I will read these comments out loud, so I'll give you a minute to just put them in the question box. All right, so we've got our first comment there. Great job. So this individual says, knowing the difference we are making in the community is what keeps them engaged in their work. Excellent response. Does anyone else have something about what keeps them engaged? I have someone mentioning constant changing work, which is an excellent point. I love that things are always changing and you have to be up on what you're doing. Excellent. Another individual said, seeing the difference we make in our community. Absolutely. Someone else said the need to feel useful and to help people most in need. Excellent response. All right. Oh, excellent. We've got more and more. Okay. Someone said meeting new people in the sector and learning about how nonprofits have a great way of helping each other out. Excellent. Another individual said that it's a challenging environment and the creativity of combined minds is very important. Someone else said that it's a flexible place to work. It's also great to work directly with people in the community. So that's excellent. All right, so I think I've answered or said out loud everyone's comments. Great job. We're going to move on with the slides there now. So stay tuned for the next opportunity to write something on the slides. I'll do the other poll later. I'll let you guys rest for the evening and just listen to me talk. All right, so great job. So engagement is now more important than ever. One of the reasons for this is because it has been found that there's a continuous job search phenomenon present in the nonprofit sector and in society in general. What this means is people are always looking for the best type of employment that fits their life. They're always continuously searching for the best opportunity. Organizational culture is important when looking to retain employees and keep them happy. People enjoy their time at work when the culture matches the type of work to be done and the personalities or work styles of the employees. This encompasses everything from the physical workspace to the mission of the organization. These two things should be reflections of each other. It is common for culture to become something different than those things listed in an employee handbook or hanging on your office walls. An example of this is collaboration. If your employee handbook states that collaboration is one of your values and the office is divided into individual workspaces, it may send mixed messages to your workforce. Similarly, stating that you use an open door and honest communication policy, if individuals were to shut their door, it could send mixed messages to the whole organization. Also important with retention is compensation. When I say compensation is important, I do not just mean direct compensation like wages or salaries. Compensation often goes beyond paid leave, retirement, and health insurance plans. Something as small as a token of appreciation on an important anniversary can certainly go a long way, which I'm sure you all know about. Often, some great small rewards can be implemented at low or no cost to the organization through creative fundraising and strategic partnerships. And if you ask people in the nonprofit sector what they like about where they work, quite often they would trade a higher salary in another sector for a work environment where they feel taken care of and cared about in a holistic manner. Something special about the nonprofit sector. I definitely agree since I've been here this short time. As I said, organizational culture is one of the neat things that can help you make your employees happy. People enjoy their time at work when the culture matches the work to be done and the personalities or work styles of the employees. I know one of the comments was talking about creativity, so that's an excellent example of how culture can work. Culture alignment fosters employee satisfaction because everyone understands the priorities and the practices. Moving on to employee engagement, it is defined as how well an employee is committed to an organization and how much they feel truly connected to the organization. It makes perfect sense that organizations are more likely to retain employees who feel engaged and have job satisfaction. So this next slide is the most important slide this evening, I believe, and I just wanted to let you know the handouts are attached to this presentation. Um, Down there, there's two. So the PowerPoint and the resource list itself. And at any time, you can feel free to reach out to me and I can get you a copy. I do plan on sending an email blast with the resources in it. So, talking about the employee retention strategies, there are 14 of them recommended in the research. The first one is put it in writing. So it is recommended that you should document how you want to retain employees, and you should have your leadership team to come to an agreement on the strategy and activities that will be involved. The board of directors will be able to see how any retention expenditures tie to goals and results. This doesn't have to be elaborate, and it can be very simple. The second suggestion in the research was to calculate your employee retention rate. Now, this is all in the resource list, so don't worry, but there's a small calculation you can do to measure where you are so that you know if your efforts are successful. So that's calculating your retention rate. You can also, number 3, calculate your cost of turnover. So much like the retention rate calculation, understanding the cost of turnover is another helpful metric. It can help you understand your return on investments, such as benefits and perks that you offer your employee. And the cost of losing an employee is definitely different for every role. So it'll allow you to understand how much it costs to lose people in certain roles. Number 4, it's suggested to evaluate compensation annually. So one of the biggest challenges in retaining employees within the nonprofit sector is offering competitive compensation. And by competitive, I mean with other sectors, oil and gas, other industries, things like that. Although wages alone are not the biggest driver of retention, it is always a good practice to ensure that employees are financially secure and feel that they are being paid fairly. You should take some time annually to evaluate your pay grades by comparing your salaries to those offered at other nonprofit establishments. You should consider increases as the cost of living increases where you can and when budget allows. Interesting to see, promoting self-care is definitely a great strategy in retention. This is a simple way to retain your employees. Burnout is one of the major reasons that employees leave nonprofit work. Some easy things that you could do would be to train employees on how to improve their self-care skills, encouraging them to use their time off, which would be their paid time off, or finding wellness providers to offer some sort of free service to your employee team. So this could be a free yoga class, it could be a walking group, could be a stretching group, it could be a free um, a free service that, for example, a fitness institution would offer. So most importantly, when promoting self-care, ensure that the leadership team within the organization is leading by example. So if you're wanting to promote self-care and healthy living, you would want your top leaders and all other people in your organization to live by this. It's said that you should always hire right the first time, number 6. So I think everyone listening here to this webinar may feel the same about this one. Too often you feel the pressure to hire the right employees on a tight budget, quite often with time constraints. To ease these challenges, it's a good idea to develop an organized and thoughtful hiring process. Identify the type of people or persons that you are looking for within your organization, so highlight what skills or qualities you're looking for, and also hire based on organizational fit. So employees that feel connected to the mission and values are more likely to stay with you long term. Number 7, it's important to understand why employees are leaving whenever they do. So this is a great opportunity to do an exit interview. I will talk about exit interviews in next week's webinar on employee departure in more detail, of course, but simply tonight I just wanted to recommend that you, if you can, ask and record why employees leave your organization. So even if this is just a small jot note to know someone took a new job or a great opportunity or they weren't a fit for the work, write down your reasons, and then you can take some time to identify the trends, and you can take action then to minimize voluntary employee turnover. So it could also entail taking less than an hour with someone who's leaving your organization just to find out. You can use an exit interview to have a guideline, and there are many templates online which we can get you some resources for, and there will be some in the next week presentation. It's suggested to identify the unique perks that your best employees want. So with limited budgets, you might be strategic with funding monies. Before investing in the benefits, identify exactly what employees are looking for. You can do this by way of a free survey, and you might be very surprised by the results. So survey your staff. You could use the SurveyMonkey tool, a free resource tool, to survey those employees in your organization and just see what they value before you spend money on something that you're not quite sure everyone will appreciate. From time to time, number 9 says that you should evaluate benefits. It's been said in the nonprofit sector that group medical, group dental, and employer-paid life insurance are the most prevalent benefits. So see what it is that people are looking for with regards to these benefits and others, and what your organization currently offers. And don't be afraid to check it out, go to market, and see where you can get the best competitive packages. Number 10, provide different benefits to different employees if you have to. And I don't mean, treating people differently here, but the key with this piece of research is to invest in programs and activities that appeal definitely to your most valued and expensive to replace employees. So if you've got 5 extremely great people and that's all your organization consists of, think about ways to retain these people, ask them what they like in a job, and prevent them leaving your organization because of something as simple as a benefit. Number 11 says set clear goals and expectations. So as we all know, clear communication goes a long way. You want to know, are employees engaged? Do they feel passionate about the organizational mission? If they do not, you want to work on communicating the organization's vision and set clear goals and expectations with each employee. So you can do this on an individual basis, and you could do it as a group as well. You want to offer a clear career path. So you want to offer opportunities to grow professionally and personally. So are you looking for some ideas? Look for opportunities with increased exposure to the sector, recognition, and even connect management with entry-level team members. So what this means is, send that employee out to a number of events. I've definitely had the privilege of doing that in my short time here so far, and I find it's really great to get that exposure to the sector, see what it's all about. And it's great to have recognition as well. When you do a good job, it's great to mention why and when you did something well. And you might even want to, have some coaching sessions for entry-level team members with people that have been there much longer. They definitely have some value to add, and they could orient the employees in an informal way to the organization. You should definitely ensure that job descriptions are clear and demonstrate upward mobility. Whenever possible, it's suggested that you hire from within. So promote those employees that you already know and love. It's said that you should invest in your leadership team. So it's actually a statistic that 80% of employee turnover in the nonprofit sector is due to poor leadership. So when you invest in your leadership, you ensure that they are stewards of your organization and make sure that they live and breathe your mission and values. Last one here. I know this is a jam-packed slide. Create a positive organizational culture. So sometimes this is easier said than done, but in the nonprofit sector where there's so many things to feel great about, it can be easy for some. If your organization is challenged with poor or negative morale, focus on creating and maintaining a positive workplace culture. Not everything costs money, so just be open and honest with your employees and create open feedback. You might want to create an open feedback loop where people continuously communicate. Or you could use team building exercise and group activities to foster positive relationships among coworkers. So these bonding rituals, so to speak, can be anything from a team lunch or gathering, such as like a potluck, something that doesn't cost too much, or have a staff walking group that meet every Wednesday at 12 o'clock to go, for example, to Monday Pond. So the message here from the research is that nonprofit organizations that adopt a thoughtful employee retention strategy encompassing these 14 things can feel more confident about staffing while reducing unnecessary employee turnover costs. So I know it's a lot of information, but those are some great tips that are recommended in the research. So switching gears here now, defining compensation. Compensation can also be known as total rewards. So compensation can include direct financial compensation, things such as wages, salaries, their pay basically, or indirect financial compensation. This includes things such as benefits, leaves, retirement plans, education support, and employee services. Non-financial compensation can include things such as career development and advancement opportunities, reward and recognition efforts, work environment itself, and working conditions. So when I think about non-financial compensation, I think about the great work conditions that nonprofit organizations can offer. An example of one of these working conditions would be flexible hours and work-life balance. So ending work at 5 o'clock p.m. If you have that as a general rule in your organization, that is a form of non-financial compensation. It's something that means something to employees and they appreciate. I certainly know when I leave work and I can leave work at work, I truly appreciate it, and you can't necessarily assign a monetary value to that. Digging into financial compensation, this information is directly taken from a chart on the hrcouncil.ca website. So it states that financial compensation includes direct and indirect forms of compensation. The list is pretty self-explanatory there on the screen. So direct compensation, as I said earlier, would include equitable wages and salaries. If applicable, it would include performance bonuses and any market adjustments made to pay involving the cost of living. It could also include raises. Indirect financial compensation includes things such as insurance plan offerings, retirement plan offerings, and paid absences. Non-financial compensation includes things like interesting job duties, responsibilities, challenges, the level of authority that an individual has, and even the level of autonomy they have. It can include such things as the work environment we are in. So, I mean, one thing that immediately comes to mind is the work environment that I'm in. Everyone has their own space. It's a very respectful environment, and they actually have a procedure in place where instead of interrupting somebody, they leave it in a spot where the employee can get it when they have time. And I think that's a really neat thing to do. And it's simple, easy, and doesn't cost too much. It could be part of a workplace culture to have fair and consistent policies and practices, or even flexible or alternative working arrangements. I thought of this as a very neat thing to think about because you do not often think of the place you work as a form of compensation. So overnight and throughout the next couple of days, you could think of a few things, I'm sure, that make the place you work in a great one. Compensation is definitely one of the stickiest problems faced by nonprofit organizations. What this means is, it's a struggle to ensure that employees feel compensated fairly and what they are worth to make them happy. It's surprising though that employee productivity is not as closely linked to monetary rewards as we may have thought. Um, all this means is that uh, the top thing for employees is not necessarily financial compensation. It could be a respectful work environment, a relaxing work environment where you can get work done and be collaborative with your team, things like that. So I must mention legal compliance when it comes to compensation. So when you compensate employees, you must adhere to the existing legislation in the areas listed here on the screen. So labor standards, pay equity, human rights, employment insurance, pension or retirement benefits, labor relations, and occupational health and safety. So some of those statutory obligations would include minimum wage. Statutory benefits include employment insurance and Canada Quebec pension plans. So statutory obligations, as you may know already, are requirements that employers are required to provide to their employees as determined by law. And what a great opportunity to mention again to you that we will be doing a free employment standards session this Friday, May 26th, in person here at the Community Sector Council. You can check online and register for the event. It is free, but registration is required. Just thought it was fitting to mention that there. So there have been some compensation practices or best practices that have been identified in the research I have done. One of the top recommendations for nonprofit organizations is to compensate employees as fairly as possible. So if your budget is restricted due to funding or other mandatory financial commitments, it's recommended that you be upfront with your employees about their compensation and the limits of the organizational funding. So if you can't possibly offer more than a certain amount, be upfront with the employees and do this from the beginning when they're being hired. It doesn't mean that you cannot try to offer higher compensation to the best employees you have, but you just have to be sure that you can make intentional decisions about what's realistic and responsible when recruiting and retaining the best talent. What you need to do when resources are limited and you cannot offer the most competitive compensation package is to be creative. There's no way that the nonprofit sector can compete with the corporate world. We know this, but there are so many great things about working in the nonprofit sector. We need to be creative when it comes to retention. So you could do those non-financial compensation aspects, as I said earlier. You can treat your employees by going beyond paid leave or retirement and contribution programs. So some examples of creativity are listed here on the screen. So you could have telework options, have employees work from an alternate location via telephone. You could include small tokens of appreciation. So something as simple as a coffee or a treat, something nice. Um, it could be picking a colored annual planner, should resources allow, little things like that. Now I know this is not going to be, comparable to compensation, but the thing is you can't always look at financial compensation as the top benefit. Perks can be offered and implemented at low or no cost through creative fundraising and strategic partnerships. So I have an example of this recently, what the Community Sector Council did for volunteers. So it was not an employee that was actually paid example, but it was a volunteer example. So what the Community Sector Council Newfoundland and Labrador did was they offered tickets to the Newfoundland Symphony Orchestra as a reward to a deserving volunteer. So the same principle as this can be applied to workplaces. We're not saying to go completely overboard, but we are saying to do something special for employees. And it could be as simple as something like offering some extra time during lunch to get together for a staff meal, like an organizational potluck, something where everyone contributes and just sits down and has a chat and relax, talk about something other than work. Um, and I can honestly say that I would trade a higher salary in a work environment where I felt taken care of holistically, fairly, and respectfully. So it goes a long way, and people do remember these things. So we're switching gears a little here now. We're going to talk about the thing that not everyone wants to talk about, the continuous job search mentality. This is so common today in workplaces, whether they are nonprofit or for-profit organizations. So what this means is people are continuously looking for the best career for their life. The thing is, people are going to look, and there's not much that you can do about it directly. You can't really prevent employees from looking into other employment opportunities, but you're not the only one that cannot control this. Nobody can. So you should not try to stop these employees looking for work. However, you can use it as an opportunity to learn something. You can put a positive spin on things and encourage communication within your work team. You can encourage your work team to report back findings um, that they may hear about through friends or colleagues. For example, what I mean by this is bring back learnings to the team regarding simple and effective ways of improving workplace culture. So one group may have a walking group. They might have all these flexible working arrangements, and that's what makes their group attractive to your employee, but it might be that you can implement it in your own workplace and work on retaining that employee if everything else is going great. It's also suggested in the research that you operate with transparency and do not dispute that other opportunities do exist. No matter what, people do deserve to do what it is they desire. They deserve to pursue their dreams, whatever that may be. So if they're not exactly a fit within your organization, they may be looking for what their passion is, and they may never not know what that is. Another neat suggestion is to take the time to do an exit interview with an employee who has decided to leave. So you need to be prepared for what you may hear in this type of interview and be prepared to talk about it constructively and use it towards positive change within your organization. So it is said in the research that a good recruitment strategy is also a good retention strategy. By creating a reputation that screams you value your people and your employees, you will attract great applicants. You are the place where everyone wants to work, and it speaks volumes when people speak about how great it is to work with you. If you do neat things for your employees, they will talk about it. An example of this that I've heard is giving employees their birthday off. Again, it's a low-cost option that you can offer employees once a year. Offer a birthday holiday. And, top talent will hear about this and they will automatically want to work for you and ultimately save you money and time related to searching for great candidates. The ultimate lesson here is to ensure that you have a retention strategy in place, if nothing else. So retention is so complex. Attracting and retaining qualified talent takes a lot of work. This could be formal or informal work. Without this qualified talent, organizations may not be able to achieve their mission or goals. The surprising thing is that often no formal effort is put towards staff retention. Um, so it could be something as simple as increasing the level of communication you have within your organization. So, after this presentation, I do challenge you all to think about retention a little bit different and be creative in what ways you can foster retention. It is recommended in the research that it's necessary to get serious about retention and get past that age-old expression that we're lucky to have a job in today's economy. And I mean, we are all guilty of this feeling, especially in the recent year in Newfoundland and Labrador. but we need to stop saying that because that is negative. Turnover is natural within every organization, and every organization will experience some degree of turnover. So it is recommended that nonprofit organizations make a conscious effort to engage their employees right from the beginning. So this is from the recruitment process right through the rest of their employment cycle. And this will help you in retaining those valuable people while at the same time achieving the mission of the organization. So these are just a few statistics that I picked up when looking at the research at nonprofithr.com. The first quote states that 90% of nonprofits, 9 out of 10, surveyed in 2013 lack a formal retention strategy. Surprisingly, another survey discovered that compensation ranks third on the list of job satisfaction elements. So these quotes really make you think. The final quote states that the top job satisfaction factor on the survey done in 2012 is opportunity to use skills and abilities with management and employee communication and a relationship with the supervisor as part of the top 5. So it's not all about compensation, financial compensation. It could be about, using your skills, your abilities, working to your potential, and communicating between management and employees. So we are almost through the presentation slides now, and I'll have a few minutes at the end to look at the chat box for a couple of questions. But the ultimate message throughout this presentation is that employee engagement works hand in hand with retention of employees. So employee engagement illustrates the commitment and energy that employees bring to work and is a key indicator of the involvement and dedication to the organization. It's proven that employees who are engaged are more productive and more loyal. When you have sound HR practices in place, you'll more likely discover that employees are satisfied and will work to their full potential. Most importantly, they will stay put because they are confident in the employer and most of all engaged. So I wanted to take a minute now to talk to you about HR responsibility. On the previous slide, I said that having sound HR practices in place will contribute to employee satisfaction, engagement, and retention. So what I mean by this is simply that good HR makes sense, and it is responsible for the success of an organization. I could go down through the entire list, but it's pretty self-explanatory. In the interest of time, I'm not going to, but you can see some of the things that HR does for employee retention and engagement. Work-life balance. So it is, as it is stated here on the slide. Work-life balance is a self-defined, self-determined state of well-being that a person can reach or can set as a goal that allows them to manage effectively multiple responsibilities at work, at home, and in their community. Work-life balance supports physical, emotional, family, and community health and does so without grief, stress, or negative impact. So a very long definition there, but no doubt a valuable one. And I believe it is simply that. It's something that makes people feel good, makes them feel that they can manage their responsibilities at work and at home, and it supports, your physical and mental well-being. It is said that there's a link between work-life balance, employee engagement, and productivity. This is definitely not a surprise. Those that feel that they have some flexibility to take care of their home life and life responsibilities do more at work. Work-life balance can provide the initial spark, swinging the door open to the proper conditions for employee engagement. When you are having a bad day, chances are you will be unproductive at work that day. Your mood truly impacts your output. So positive emotions help broaden minds. They help build interest and energize people. Negative emotions restrict thinking. Work-life balance helps individuals feel a sense that they are valued and trusted. So when people practice their skills and competencies, they satisfy deep psychological needs. So there are reciprocal payoffs when work-life balance is present because attitude drives effort. So if you think about that, positive attitude drives great effort. And it makes sense completely when I read the research on this. Work-life balance as a strategy makes a lot of sense. Like a recruitment strategy, it involves a lot of work to incorporate it into your organizations. There needs to be consultation with employees within the organization, for sure, to see what they're looking for, and the incentives need to be based on employees' needs. It makes so much sense to just ask the people you work with about what they're looking for in a workplace. You can do this with a small group, with one-on-one discussions, or you could, in a large group, do this by way of survey. You need to have buy-in from the employees, so asking them their opinions definitely helps with getting buy-in. We're getting to the end here now. Just wanted to touch briefly on social media in the workplace. Um, I could certainly go on for days, and I know Carla would agree, talking about social media etiquette, which is perhaps a great topic for one of the future webinars. Um, Social media can assist with employee engagement and retention if used in the proper way. It can be used to demonstrate the great things that your organization does. It's always important to keep in mind that employees need to be aware of what is appropriate to share, of course. If you're going to use social media as an engagement or retention tool, it's always a good idea to have a policy in place beforehand. So this type of policy can be as simple or as complex as you would like, but it could be a great tool. So we have some resources on that as well. We have some fantastic resources on our website for social media. If you have any questions on that, please let me know. I wanted to alert you to the Newfoundland HR Manager before we go tonight. There are some fabulous resources there, and there are ones there that are associated with retaining workers, employees. This site is not necessarily aimed towards nonprofits, but it's definitely useful, and we hope to build resources for you throughout the Creative HR project. So please stay tuned for that. Would love to hear from you whether you want to do it now in the text box, in the question box, or if you want to write me an email after with my contact information on the last slide. We want to know what HR topics you'd like to learn more about. We would like to know if there are things that you feel are overlooked when it comes to HR. And we want to know, do you find employee retention challenging in your workplace? So these are all things we'd love to know. So I'll open up the chat box there now for a couple of minutes to see if there are any questions or any suggestions on what we should do. Just looking at the box there now. If there are no questions, we can certainly end. I do promise to get you out by 8:30, of course. The days are long and the nights are even longer. And before you know it, you'll be up and doing it all over again tomorrow. Great. I have a question from an individual here. Have you considered having an employee assistance program that could be coupled to be offered to nonprofits? That's a really great suggestion. I don't know of many employee assistance programs that have been offered right now, but it's definitely something we will look into because if there were one that all nonprofits could avail of, that would be excellent. So thank you so much for that comment. Great idea. I'm sure everyone else here would agree. Someone said, thanks for the great webinar. I love the examples of non-financial compensation. Thank you so much. I think they were eye-opening for me when I looked at them first because you don't often think about anything other than financial compensation. but it's interesting and creative. I have another question there now. How does HR retention compare between unionized government workers and nonprofit workers? Between nonprofit sector and the private sector. This is definitely something we could look into, but when retaining employees, I believe that all the same strategies may apply within the different sectors, um, whether they're unionized government workers or nonprofit workers. The compensation issue, of course, is always prevalent because of, it could be funding constraints, financial compensation constraints, things like that. Um, I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but the private sector, certainly there's a lot more opportunity to offer higher salaries. So people may be retained by higher salaries. There may be a focus on salary in different sectors. I'm not sure. That's just a general comment. But I know that no matter where I'm working, if I know that my organization cares about me, respects me, provides me with time to do my work and be there for the purpose that I was hired, that's pretty important to me and it goes a long way. So I would imagine all sectors, nonprofit workers, union workers, um, would all uh, be happy about the same things. I have another comment there. I like the idea that employers promote self-care. Even little ideas like sending around a list of great stretches to do at your desk to employees or offering a space to lay down on a yoga mat during break time, etc. Little things that don't necessarily cost a lot, but show that you've thought about your employees' well-being. I think that's an excellent point. It doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't need to be elaborate. It can be something as simple as, giving an employee a little rest break if they've had a rough day or something like that. And, I'm sensing from any individuals and nonprofits that I've talked to that the nonprofit sector, uh, it's a caring and passionate sector. People love what they do. They're rewarded by the work that they do, and sometimes it's a little exhausting. So things like this could definitely help. Great comments, everybody. Um, are there any more? Just check there now. I didn't give you the other poll yet, but if you wanted to just take a quick second, I know we might be losing attendees as the time goes on, but it's 8:30 on the dot. I'm going to launch a poll there now. Um, so we just want to know what times you prefer to have webinars if we do them in the future. I don't see that there are any more questions, so I'll close that box. But if you can select which one you like, that'd be great. All right, so the poll is still in progress, and I'm not sure we're going to get everybody, but thank you for your feedback. Okay, we've got everyone. So I'll just show you there now. And again, I'm not an expert at this, but I like to share the results with you. So we had 14% of people prefer the morning, 57% enjoy the afternoon. So that's interesting to me. 29% evening, which is a convenient time for some people that work all day, maybe volunteering with nonprofit organizations, and 14% had no preference. So thank you so much. Great job. Appreciate that. And thank you so much for being here tonight. This webinar will be available online in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for your time. This is my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you think of something overnight that you wanted to mention. Don't hesitate to either call me toll free or email me here. Thank you for all of your time. I'm going to shut down the webinar now and have a great evening.